If you believe what you see in science fiction films, then you probably believe that in space you can easily hear, for example, the sound of some kind of explosion. Though for now, I suggest forgetting the fantasies of scriptwriters and directors and turning to scientific facts, because these are much more fascinating than any fabrication. Space has always amused people. From the very moment our ancestors gazed at the sky and realized it looked like something magical, they began wondering what was happening up there above it all. People suddenly had questions, and to answer them, they had to come up with myths, fairy tales about gods and heroes that in general could explain anything. Over time, myths faded into the background, and people began building theories about the structure of the cosmos. Today, we know space isn't some kind of solid dome. We know its temperature and various properties, and we even understand what would happen if we tried touching it with our bare hands. But what about sound? First of all, let's define some terms and concepts. Sound is the propagation of elastic waves of mechanical vibrations in a solid, liquid, or gaseous medium. These waves, like any others, have amplitude and frequency. However, space is neither solid, nor liquid, nor gaseous. There aren't enough molecules in airless space to vibrate and create an audible sound. There are so few particles there that even the loudest sounds, like explosions of entire planets, die out almost instantly. Does that mean that silence reigns in space? Well, yes and no. Sound waves in a vacuum don't really propagate. However, there are electromagnetic waves that freely move through space in any direction. So, to hear other planets and stars, you'd only need to catch the radiation of the object you're interested in and, as it were, convert it into sound through a speaker or headphones. And it's easier than it seems at first glance. For the first time ever, the sounds of space were recorded as a part of the Voyager program. It was these spacecraft that finally allowed humanity not only to see the cosmos, but also to hear it. Today, NASA has many cosmic sounds at its disposal. Some sound just weird, while the others are really creepy. I suggest plugging in your headphones. These sounds of lightning on Jupiter were recorded by Voyager 1. Or rather, it recorded electromagnetic waves, after which they were transformed into a strange short track. It sounds like hissing coming from some shells, recorded with a really bad voice recorder. Yes, in Jupiter's atmosphere, where storms often occur and the winds blow at an almost unrealistic speed, you can also see lightning. The sound it made was called the whistler, as it sounds so much like a whistle. So, that's how an uninhabited planet sounds. But here on Earth, of course, everything should be different, right? Well, there are about 8 billion people on our planet. We're just people, but we create a lot of noise. There are also animals and birds and the sounds of the rivers, seas, and oceans. It seemed to me that the Earth should be the loudest planet in the solar system, but in fact, its sounds are not at all what I thought. Craig A. Kletzing used a tool called emphasis for many years to study different types of electromagnetic waves in near-Earth space. The scientist was particularly interested in the so-called Van Allen belts, the Earth's radiation belts. People don't notice the activity in these areas, and of course, never hear what's happening. But if you convert the radio waves into audio format, you can hear something strange. For example, some of these waves sound like a chorus of alien birds. Others sound like the lightsaber in Star Wars. However, this isn't the only case in which scientists have managed to capture the cosmic voice of the Earth. A satellite launched by NASA's Polar mission made this recording, which sounds something like panting. And these aren't even all of the sounds the Earth makes. Scientists have discovered that when the magnetopause, the outermost boundary of the Earth's protective magnetic field, collides with a stream of solar plasma, it vibrates. And this also sounds quite strange. And now we'll leave our planet and again turn to space. But this time, we'll turn to an image the Hubble Space Telescope captured in 2018. Because of the huge number of galaxies in its frame, researchers call this photo the Galactic Treasure Chest. Each of the galaxy spots on it is home to countless stars. Could such a picture be made even more amazing? Well, yes, they can make it sing. NASA decided to turn the image into music. Each point in the image makes its own sound. Stars and small galaxies respond with short notes, and large spiral galaxies produce longer and more complex sounds. Their tone also depends on their location. The lower they are, the rougher the note sounds. The result is an eerie and slightly disturbing cosmic tune. On January 14, 2005, the Huygens probe landed on Saturn's moon, Titan. Since Titan, unlike many other celestial bodies, has an atmosphere, sound waves propagate there. When the device landed there, it recorded sounds through a microphone, transmitted them to an antenna which remained in orbit, and from there, they were sent to the Earth. So now we can hear what Titan sounds like. Like an old and somewhat frozen 8-bit game. Not the nicest sound in the universe, so let's move on. I don't know why, but some cosmic tunes somehow sound really frightening. The spacecraft Juno entered Jupiter's orbit in 2016. Its mission was to study its atmosphere, build a map of its winds, and also examine its gravitational and magnetic fields. Now, don't forget about its magnetosphere. It was during Juno's entrance into this that they managed to record these sounds. Sounds that send goosebumps up and down my spine. Now, these particular sounds are like the soundtrack of a horror movie. The right kind of horror film, where the director skillfully pumps the atmosphere and the feeling of anxiety increases with each passing second. This space melody was recorded by Voyager 1, which appeared in interstellar space. In essence, these sounds are data from a PWS, or plasma wave device. This device recorded the oscillations of electron fields in the plasma around the probe. And now, finally, a quite unique sound. While all of the cosmic melodies that I've mentioned so far were recorded near planets, other objects, or even at the exit from a heliosphere, this one is straight from a surface. The InSight robotic apparatus was created specifically to study Mars, and not just to walk on its surface, but to dig into its depths. Figuratively, of course. InSight landed on Mars on November 26, 2018, to begin studying its insides, its core, crust, mantle, their temperatures, and more. For this purpose, a seismograph was built into the device, and not in vain. On April 6, 2019, the device recorded its first probable earthquake, or rather, in this sense, a Marsquake. It was the first trembling to come from within the planet, and it wasn't the result of wind gusts. The planet sounds were also recorded. It's worth noting that the surface of Mars is really quiet compared to the Earth's. There, the oceans don't roar and the winds don't rage, which means that InSight can detect even the slightest tremors. Additionally, without tectonic plates, earthquake mechanisms work much differently on Mars. Yes, the red planet doesn't shake as much as the Earth does, but a small step in the study of Mars is a huge leap for future colonization. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. And click on the bell to receive notifications of new, interesting videos that are waiting for you ahead.